I'm going to ask Officer Mallory if he would come forward, and if we'd all please rise, Officer Mallory will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Officer Mallory. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals, and for those of you that haven't been here before, let me give you a little insight on how we're going to conduct our meeting. The first thing that we'll concern ourselves with today is the consent agenda. These are applications that not only this board has reviewed, but our professional, our engineering, and our zoning staff have reviewed. To our knowledge, there's no known opposition to any of these particular cases. So as we go forward, the way we will proceed is Mr. Peterson, our head zoning administrator, he will read these cases into the record. As he does, the applicant, he or she, will identify themselves by raising their hand. And likewise, if there's anybody here in opposition to any of these particular cases, if they would identify themselves by raising their hand. If we do have opposition, we will pull that particular case and hear it in its regular numeric order. Our next course of business, we have one continued case. And once we hear that, we get into our regular cases. Again, the procedure will remain the same. And as Mr. Peterson calls the case, at that time, the applicant will have a 10-minute period to make his comments to this board. And likewise and collectively, anybody in opposition that wants to make a statement, they will have a 10-minute period. Now, if there's more than one speaker, be cognizant of the fact that you only have a 10-minute period. We will not take any questions from the audience. You can't just raise your hand and ask a question. If you want to make any comments, you have to come up, be sworn in. Our officer of the day is Ms. Kim Wakefield. For those of you who are going to give testimony, that would be the applicant and anybody that's here in opposition. You come forward, Ms. Wakefield will swear you in, and all testimony will be given to the podium to my right. Once we conclude that, we have a couple of held cases, and I believe we have one other business item to take care of, John, at that time. And that concludes my little comment. John, do you have any comments to the audience at this time?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. There are 3 cases on today's printed agenda which have been continued and will not be heard today. First case is V-182, Philip Wallace. That case was continued by the Board of Zoning Appeals until the December 9th, 2015 variance hearing. Variance case V-140, EZ69RH Wendy Hill, LLC. That case was continued by the staff until the November 11th Board of Zoning Appeals hearing, so that case will not be heard today. Variance case V-142, Michelle Taylor. That case was continued by the staff until the November 11th, 2015 Board of Zoning Appeals hearing, so that case will not be heard today. Mr. Chairman and Board, there's been a request by one of the applicants on today's agenda to continue. Variance case V-136, Michael and Lorraine Thibodeau. They've requested this case be continued, Mr. Chairman. Apparently there's an issue they need to work out with one of the neighbors, so we'd ask the board to continue this case.
All right, is the applicant for 136 here? Is there anybody here in opposition to that case V-136? All right, hearing and not seeing anybody. Mr. Skip Gunther represents the district, so Skip, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'll need a motion to continue.
Right. I make a motion to continue.
All right, I have a motion to continue that case. Do I have a second by Ms. Williams? No other comments? Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Madam Secretary, we're going to continue case 136 for 30 days or until our next scheduled meeting. That vote is 5-0.
I would like to ask the people in today's audience to please just turn your cell phones off. The ringing does interfere with the broadcast and presentations. So if you have a cell phone, please put it on silent mode. The following announcement concerns variance applications requesting backyard chickens related to the official code of Cobb County, Chapter 1, 3494-4, adopted by the Board of Commissioners on February 26, 2013, and amended on March 11, 2014. Applicants are advised that variance applications requesting backyard chickens, which are approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals, takes the form of a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. who makes the final determination whether to grant the special exception for the backyard chickens. There is one case on today's agenda which this applies, and that's variance case V148, Elizabeth and Christopher Wyatt. The applicant is instructed that if the Board of Zoning Appeals approves this application, a representative would need to be present at the Board of Commissioners zoning hearing on Tuesday, November 17, 2015 at 9 a.m. for a final determination. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Let's just jump right in, John.
Thank you. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals, variance hearing consent agenda for October 1st, 2015. Variance case V128, Randall Shaw, request a variance to allow an accessory structure, an existing approximately 132 square foot shed number 1, and existing approximately 592 square foot shed number 2 in front of the primary structure. Waive the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for existing shed number 2 from required 12 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the south property line. Waive the front setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for existing shed number 2 from required 45 feet to 10 feet, and to waive the rear setback for the existing residence from required 40 feet to approximately 30 feet adjacent to the lake in land lot 756 of the 16th District. The property is located on the northeast side of Spring Circle, east of Bishop Lake Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to development and inspections comments, and encroachments as shown on the site plan received July 22nd, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V128? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V129, Ray Summerall, requests a variance to waive the front setback from required 35 feet to 1.6 feet, waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 7 feet, and to waive the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 160 square foot dog pen from required 30 feet to 0 feet in land lot 948 of the 16th District. The property is located at the northwest corner of Linder Court and Brook Avenue. Staff recommends approval, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan dated July 23rd, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V129? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V130, Louis Naharo requests a variance to waive the maximum allowable sign area from 120 square feet to 150 square feet in land lot 804 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north corner of North Park Place and Windy Hill Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments, sewer comments, and sign rendering received July 30th, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V130? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V131, Captain D's LLC requests a variance to increase the maximum allowable sign area from 65 square feet to 112 square feet in land lot 38 of the 17th District. The property is located on the east side of Floyd Road, north of Veterans Memorial Highway. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments and the sign rendering received August 4th, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V131? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V132, McDonald's Real Estate Company requests a variance to waive the landscape enhancement strip from required 8 feet to 2 feet adjacent to Windy Hill Road and to 3.5 feet adjacent to Circle 75 Parkway as shown on the submitted site plan in land lots 851 and 876 of the 17th District. The property is located at the southeast corner of Circle 75 Parkway and Windy Hill Road, west of Interstate 75. Staff recommends approval, subject to sewer comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V132? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V134, Donald and Donna Bratton request a variance to waive the front setback from required 35 feet to 9 feet, allow parking and/or access to the parking areas in a residential district to be on a non-hardened surface, and waive the side setback from required 10 feet to 4.8 feet for the existing wall foundation in land lot 445 of the 16th District. The property is located on the north side of Housley Road, east of Rich Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments and subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received August 10th, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V134? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V135, Tower Truscott requests a variance to waive the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed 320 square foot building from required 30 feet to 23 feet in land lot 98 of the 19th district. The property is located on the south side of Sutton Way, south of Sutton Drive. Staff recommends approval, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received August 11th, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V135? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V138, Mark H. Smith requests a variance to waive the rear setback from required 35 feet to 29 feet, waive the rear setback for an accessory structure under 144 square feet for a 137 square foot shed, number 1, from required 5 feet to 4 feet, waive the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a 270 square foot shed, number 2, from required 35 feet to 3 feet, and to allow parking and/or access to parking areas in a residential district to be on a non-hardened surface in land lot 318 of the 20th district. The property is located on the north side of Rocky Ridge Road, east of Ernest Barrett Parkway. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments and the encroachments as shown on the site plan received August 12, 2015. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V138? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
John, let me stop you there. Did we skip 136?
We continued that case.
Oh, continue. I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. All right. Go right ahead.
Thank you, sir. Variance case V139, Michael E. Roberts requested variance to waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 27 feet in land lot 142 of the 16th district. The property is located at the eastern terminus of Gaillardia Way, east of Astable Circle. Staff recommends approval, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received August 12, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V139? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V141, Judith Seifert trustee as Judith Seifert Revocable Trust dated December 14, 2000, requesting the variance to waive the side setback from required 10 feet to 8 feet adjacent to the west property line in land lot 1008 of the 19th district. The property is located on the south side of Anderson Mill Road, north of McDuffie Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received August 13, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V141? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V144, professional permits. Request a variance to increase the maximum allowable sign wall area from 127.66 square feet to 197.5 square feet in land lots 781 and 782 of the 17th district. The property is located on the north side of Wendy Hill Road, east of Cobb Parkway. Staff recommends approval, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received August 13, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V144? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V145, John Bernard, requests a variance to waive the rear setback from required 25 feet to 20 feet in land lot 828 of the 16th district. The property is located at the southern terminus of Wingham Place, east of Waterbury Lane. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received August 13, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V145? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V146, Stephanie Lynn and Gregory John Comboy request a variance to waive the front setback from required 50 feet to 48 feet on lot number 1 and to 34 feet on lot number 2, and to allow parking and/or access to parking areas in a residential district to be on a non-hardened surface in land lot 269 of the 20th district. The property is located on the south side of Due West Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments and encroachments as shown on the site plan received August 13, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V146? Let the record show there's no one opposed. V147, YHDR LLC requested variance to waive the maximum allowable sign area, 185 square feet to 347.22 square feet in land lots 780 and 849 of the 19th District. The property is located on the east side of Austell Road, north of Floyd Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the sign rendering received August 13th, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V147? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 3, to consider amending the elevation for variance application V45 of 2013 for property located on the south side of Orchard Lake Court, north of Brookview Drive, land lot 889 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the rendering received August 27th, 2015, and all previous conditions not in conflict. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 3? Let the record show there's no one opposed, and that completes the consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
Okay, it's back to this board for discussion. So at this time, does any board members have any comments on any of the consent agenda? Not hearing any. Then I'll entertain a motion to approve everything with the exception of V136, which has been continued to our next scheduled meeting, and I'll entertain a motion. John? Skip.
We would like to make a motion that we add, like to add application V121 into the consent cases. Want me to tell you why?
Well, wait a minute. We got to make a motion. I need a second to get that on the agenda. Second. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now we'll add that for a 5-0 vote. And go ahead, Skip. Make your comment.
I just want to make a comment for the audience that we heard this case last month. It was on our consent agenda. 2 gentlemen stood forward and were objected to the variance application. We held the case. Since then, the applicant has gotten together with the 2 neighbors, and they have actually signed a petition in support of this variance application, and so that's why I made a motion that we put it on the consent agenda.
When we go read it in, we'll add it to the consent agenda.
John, you need to read that into the record then. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay, let's read that in.
Yes, sir. Variance case V121, Lance Cooper, requests a variance to waive the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a 1,344 square foot barn, from required 100 feet to 11.5 feet from the rear, and to allow an accessory structure, the 1,344 square foot barn, to be located to the front of the principal building in land lots 280 and 281 of the 19th District. The property is located on the south side of Bullard Road, west of Billy Rucker Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received July 13, 2015. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V121? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Okay, now it's back to this board. That we've added 121 to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of V136.
All right, I have a motion. I have a second.
I'll make a second.
Good, I got a second. No other comments? Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, that carries for approval 5-0. Now, those of you that were here for the consent agenda, your business is complete with us for today. You're welcome to stay, or if you want to leave, please leave quietly, and we'll continue on with our meeting. So those of you on the consent agenda, you're free to leave. And spend some money on the way home. Cobb County needs a little tax money. And they take orders very well. Everybody files out and doesn't raise any ruckus at all. All right, John, let's go to, what's our next one? You go to
V120.
Okay, let's go to 120.
Yes, sir. Variance case V120, Robert J. Sand, request a variance to waive the required 35-foot landscape screening buffer to 0 feet adjacent to the southwest corner and the 10 feet adjacent to the enlarged detention pond on the eastern side in land lots 762 and 823 of the 16th District. The property is located on the northwest corner of Sewell Road and Bill Murdoch Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V120? Please raise your hands. Let the record show there's 2 people opposed. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Anybody that's going to give testimony, come forward and let's get you all sworn in. All right, sir, before you get started, for the purpose of the record, if you would, please give us your name.
Yes, sir. My name is Robert Sand. On
Okay.
behalf of Atlanta Chinese Christian Church Northwest, I would like to ask Mr. Daniel Chen, our project manager for this parking lot expansion project, to address to the board.
Sure. If you just stand there, sir, if you come up, please. And if you would, again, give us your name.
Yes, my name is Daniel Chan.
Okay?
And good afternoon, Chairman and the board members. I live in 3451 Sheridan Chase, Marietta, Georgia. My family has been in Cobb County over 27 years. I'm a member of Atlanta Chinese Christian Church Northwest. Our Sunday service, including the Chinese service, English service, and also an independent service from a Presbyterian church. So it's 2 churches together. The church authorized me to speak, as Bob stated. We're blessed, the church, because we have a growing problems. More people come to church, and more cars roll in. And in addition to that, we're blessed. The property right adjacent to the church, as showing here, the house was donated to church. So the Sunday morning was pretty crowded with a lot of cars back and forth through one exit. So we tell ourselves it is time for adding parking space. We hired an engineer, professional engineering firm, to do the study, to design, and in June this year, we submit to Cobb County for the final design approval. And Cobb County commented back with 2 zoning-related comments because we're encroaching into the 35 feet setback areas for 2 areas. Encourage us working with neighbors and seek for variance. That's the reason we're here. The first one. The first one, variance relate to the house driveways. As you can see, can you turn to change the drawings? To second sheets. Yeah. As you can see that, well, actually the driveway down below, yeah, right here, good. As you can see, the 2 driveways is side by side, very funny, in my opinion, design. And this is 35 feet. What church prefers to do is to remove portion of the driveways, turning the concrete pavement to green areas. By doing this, we also give our neighbor, Mr. John Eaton, a proper respect on his driveways, plus 1 less entrance to Sewell Mill Road. So, and we share with the idea to John, and he gladly, he signed right away the consent form. Variance number 2. The other ones relate to detention pond. More parking space, more asphalt, more impervious space. Therefore, we need more capacities on site to detain the water. So we have to expand our detention pond, which happen to be in the buffer zone. We shared the idea with our neighbor, Patricia Townsend. She is directly behind the detention pond. And we agreed to add a bunch of trees, evergreen buffers around. She's happy, signed. So the job is done with the blessings of the two neighbors. We feel like we have a reasonable case to present to our board. Now, since we have some opposition came in, I would like to speak a few words about the other issues. When we talk to our neighbors, we realize there are some concerns from our neighbor across the street from the church off the Sewell Mill Road. So we want to stress from our church point of view. Currently, we have 121 parking spaces. With the proposed addition, we're adding 35 more parking spaces. You can see the area, shaded area, is the new parking spaces. So we got 156 cars together. We only have one entry in and one entry out of Bill Murdoch Road. Thinking about over 500 feet, 150 cars once getting in and out, two churches activities. That's incredible, impossible, unrealistic, and problematic, which may lead to our children's, even sometimes to the adults on the parking lot after service or other times. So we told them we desperately need another way out of the parking lot. Our engineering firm has worked with Cobb DOT to seek the best location of Sewell Mill Road. By the way, that's the only place we have, only facing 2 streets. So we did that, and the Cobb DOT asked us to do a study of the sidelines. And our engineering firm did a study to show that we're exceeding the designs. Can you turn the lighter? Yeah, this is from Land Engineers. The last one I can't read. Basically, is exceeding the design of the per Cobb DOT and the American highway standards. So we're pretty safe on both sides of that. So in general, we feel like we have a design we submit in June for approval on the exit, which is not part of today's zoning variance. But I appreciated the concern from the neighbors. But I want to present this case and for your consideration. Thank you.
Okay, you still have 3 minutes left. Is there anything else you want to tell us about this project?
Well, our pastor, 2 pastors, and some brothers, sisters are in here.
Okay.
You feel free to ask any questions.
No, I just want to know if there's anything else you'd like to inform us or tell us about the project.
No, I think we got enough covered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you would, please just have a seat, and at this time, we'll hear from the opposition.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, ma'am, if you would, give us your name, please, first.
Heather Zigliara.
Say that again.
Zigliara, Heather. Yes. And my neighbor, Mr. Zadef, is here. I had to bring my son, and so he's back there with my son. If you want to hear from him separately, you can, but I think we're pretty aligned. So,
Okay.
So anyway, I live at 3680 Sewell Mill Road, so it's the furthest one to the left, the most impacted by the new driveway.
Is that where he's indicating the arrow?
Yeah.
Is that your house?
Yeah, where it's circulating right now.
Okay,
yeah,
go
yeah.
right ahead.
So my opposition is, I mean, it's clearly not a good thing when you're living directly across the street. So however it works out with zoning, but there were 2 parts to the petition from what I understand. So the first being the reduction or complete elimination of the landscape barrier would not be aesthetically appealing to any of us across the street. To go from 35 feet to 0, we're now looking at a parking lot and a church, a rather old church, instead of some really nice landscaping that exists there currently. So clearly for us, we just would not like to look at that, quite frankly, across the street. From a safety perspective, there's quite a few kids. I have 4. My neighbor has 2, and there are, I don't know how many on the other home, right at the corner. But from a safety standpoint, we really are concerned about traffic entering and going in and out at that location. Sewell Mill Road is pretty narrow right there. And when traffic backs up at the light, turning across both lanes is quite dangerous. I do it from my property, and I am very cautious and concerned. And with the proximity to Walton High School, there are a lot of young drivers in that area. And there's pedestrians as well, because we're also adjacent to Dickerson. Dickerson's on the back side of my property. Dodgen Middle School is right behind our properties. And then Walton is just down Bill Murdoch Road. And so you have a light at that intersection, which is feeding traffic basically to Dodgen and Walton. And then you have the light also obviously feeds traffic across Sewell Mill. So while the posted speed limit might be 35, people crossing Sewell Mill Road are going quite a bit faster. So as a neighbor, I do worry about people crossing this way across Sewell Mill through the light and traveling at a speed which isn't going to allow them to stop before the driveway just up the road. So I worry about accidents. And I also don't quite understand, honestly, the need. I rarely see cars parked in that parking lot, and I understand that on Sundays it might get busy. But unless there's a further intention of use for the church or the parking spaces, because I've heard that they might be used for Walton, it makes me wonder if it's all really, it's your business, and if it's approved, it's approved, but I don't ever see any traffic jams. And I guess I don't go to church there on Sunday, but even if it was congested at that time, it seems like an awful lot of work for something that is only occurring once, potentially twice during the week. So those are my concerns. I don't know if the parking lot will be used for other things during the week, and that this may open up those opportunities. But basically, in regards to the entire proposal, we're concerned about safety. We don't like how it will look from our side of the street. They've made some concessions for neighbors who are adjacent on the back side, on the same side as them on Sewell Mill. But for us, across the street, I'm not sure what the good news is. They sent us a letter like there was good news, but I have yet to understand what it is. So those are my concerns.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
Mr. Zadef, do you have anything to add? You'd have to get sworn in, but if you want, or just tell me and I'll tell them.
Sir, if you want to come on up, we'll take the time. Let's get you sworn in. For those of you that are here in the audience, in the future, anybody that wants to speak regardless has to come up in the beginning. We're going to make an exception in this gentleman's
Sorry.
case.
Would you like me to move?
You can stay right there.
Okay.
All right, sir, if you would give us your name, please, first.
My name is Nadeem, first name, and last name is Afar. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Okay.
I live on 3688 Sewell Mill Road, which is next to Miss Jennifer.
And we're showing that now.
Yes,
That's your
that's
house.
the one,
Okay.
yes.
Go right ahead, sir.
For me, I think it's more practical if the entrance is on Bill Murdoch. Maybe they can widen the entrance a little bit more, but there's no residential houses on that entrance. It's just a fence, so which is more practical, which is more safer. But if they're gonna put another entrance on Sewell Mill, it will create a lot of concerns. It could be dangerous. It could be more accidents. It's just a one-way street. It's just a one lane, so it will create a lot of congestions there. That's all I have to say.
And it's true that on Bill Murdoch Road, there's a turning lane and a lane in each direction, so it's much wider already. I don't understand.
All right, either one. Anybody else like to tell us anything?
That's what. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
All
your
right, if you
time.
would, please have a seat. At this time, Ms. Christy Trombetti represents the district, and I'm going to turn it over to her for discussion. Ms. Trombetti?
Okay, thank you. Before I kind of recap what we've heard and make some recommendations, I want to clarify with Mr. Peterson, the landscape screening buffer that we're talking about on the Sewell Mill entrance. Can you clarify exactly where that variance is? It's not removing any landscaping that would be required along the frontage, am I correct? It's only,
It's only along the western property line where they purchased the property that has the existing house, and it's for the driveway that kind of encroaches into the buffer. It's shown on the second plan in your book, which shows the house.
right,
It's just really for the driveway area where they're reducing the buffer.
okay. I just wanted to be clear because I want to be able to address the issues that Ms. Zigliara mentioned, and one of those was not having a landscape screening buffer. But what the requests we're looking at today would not affect any buffer requirements if there are
No,
any.
there's
on
no
Sewell.
buffer requirements along the road
Okay.
on Sewell Mill. It's just adjacent to the other R20 zone property.
Correct. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
So we assume no trees will stay where they are, the shrubs will stay along Sewell Mill on the front. Is that correct, John?
Some may have to come out in order to achieve sight distance.
There's
Okay.
no requirement.
Okay, great.
Okay. I want to address the neighbor concerns first because I know that we've had some email communication and we heard from both of you early on, and that's important with variances as well as zoning applications. And we appreciate it anytime someone takes the time to come down and speak about a case. Whether or not a new driveway is added or a new entrance and exit is added to the church property on Sewell Mill is really not in our purview today. We're not voting nor we have the authority to approve or deny the new driveway or the location, because that takes place during plan review, and it's all entirely up to DOT and whether or not the church can meet the requirements. So I really understand what the two neighbors are saying about having a new entrance right across the street. But it's just not something that we have any control over here. We're talking about the landscape buffer requirement that would be required only for the adjacent homeowner as well as the detention pond expansion. I think it was mentioned that there's not necessarily a lot of traffic in and out of the church, maybe on Sundays. So hopefully the addition of the new driveway on Sewell Mill wouldn't create the problems that Ms. Zigliara and Mr. Zafar have anticipated. I also noted that the proposed driveway is recommended to be a right out, or it appears to be a right out only on their plan, which means people exiting the church property onto Sewell Mill would only be turning right to go west and not east, trying to go back toward the light. So, or at least it looks that way. I could be wrong. But in any case, I think it's important that DOT representative who's here today has heard the concerns, and all of that, is something that they can have on their minds during plan review. But it's just not something that we have the authority to approve or deny today. We are looking at the landscape buffer issue as well as the reduction of the buffer requirement for the detention pond. And I think the Leland cypress plantings, along with Ms. Townsend's approval on the detention area, is a good compromise and a good solution. And I hope that this improvement to the church property, as well as other things that they plan in the future, are good for the neighborhood as well as for the church community. Unless there's some other comments, I'm prepared to make a motion.
I think we're ready for the motion. Yeah.
And make a motion that we approve V-120, subject to all staff comments and recommendations.
All right, I've got a motion for approval. Do I have a second? Second, Ms. Williams. Any other discussion? Mr. Peterson?
Can we also add a
Comment.
condition in there that the approval is subject to the three site plans contained in the book, all dated September 2nd, 2015? Okay.
Okay, and the rest is all plan review. All right, I've got a motion and I've got a second. No other discussion. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, we're going to approve V-120 with a 5-0 vote. Okay, let's go to our next one, John. It'd be 127, I believe.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case V127, Michael Ackley, request a variance to waive the minimum lot frontage from required 75 feet to 28.45 feet for proposed tracks 1 and 2. Waive the minimum lot width at the front setback from required 75 feet to approximately 20 feet for proposed tracks 1 and 2. Waive the front setbacks for proposed tracks 1 and 2 from required 50 feet to 12 feet adjacent to the northern property line. Waive the rear setbacks for the proposed tracks 1 and 2 from required 40 feet to 12 feet adjacent to the southern property line, and allow parking and/or access to parking areas in a residential district on a non-hardened surface in land lots 844 and 885 in the 16th district. The property is located on the south side of Allgood Road, west of East Piedmont Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V127? Please keep
All
your
right, just
hands raised.
keep your hands raised how we can get a head count. Those that are opposed to V127.
Let the record show there are 9 people here in opposition. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Anybody who wants to make a statement on case V127, please come forward and we'll get you sworn in. All right, we're going to hear from the applicant first. If everybody else would just have a seat close by, we'll get started. Sir, if you would, before we get started, give us your name, please.
My name is Michael Ackley. I'm with the United Contractors Group, LLC.
Okay, Michael, tell us what you want.
Absolutely. The owner purchased this property. It's basically an existing home, an older existing house on the property. And it's got a gate at the front coming in from Allgood Road. So coming in from Allgood Road, you look at the property on the outside. There's an old house on the left and a fenced gate that'll take you to the rear of this house. There is already an existing gravel driveway. No pavement, nothing else, just a gravel driveway with a 2.6 acres in the back of this house. That full property is not visible from Allgood Road. So when the owner purchased it, he decided he would like to rezone the rest of the property behind his house, use the existing driveway coming in from Allgood Road, and right now it is zoned for that one, for the 2.6 to be, we can build on it one house. But the owner wanted, because it's a 2.6 acres, he wanted to split it in 2 different parcels and give them and build 2 different homes on it with entry with the existing to those 2 lots from Allgood Road with the existing gravel road in the front. We came and applied. We took the specs. We asked zoning what they require. We hired our zoning engineer. We created the site plan, we submitted it, and here we are here for variance. We posted the sign on the property, and the owner went around the neighbors and got their signatures. And most of them were actually renting. And he spoke to the people on the left, people on the right, went across the street. And he said, there's everybody who are like, don't care, that's fine, no problem, yeah, that's fine, that will be great, looking forward. They signed and we submitted it with the application, and here we are today. So, be honest with you, I was surprised to see that many hands went in for opposition. I'm not sure. And I didn't go in getting those signatures and approval from all the neighbors around the house. But basically, the owner went and got it from him, for him.
All right. Anything else? You have some time. Is there anything else you want to tell us about that?
On Sunday, sir, I received a phone call. Not sure the name of the lady. She presented herself. It was Sunday at 4:30. She called me and asking, acquiring information about my variance request to Cobb County about the property on Allgood Road. I was surprised to see. I asked her if she was with Cobb County, and I was surprised. I figured no government agency is going to call me on, on a Sunday. But she said no, she's with the East Cobb something association. And she requested a few questions. She asked me, why am I zoning it? Why am I building two? What's the main purpose of us asking for zoning? Why do we want to build on this property? I answered her. If you want me to tell you my answers, I would love to. Basically, it's a vacant land. The previous owner with the fence, which you cannot see from coming on Allgood, had nothing but junk in the back, storing all kinds of truck parts, tires. The guy came in and it was rotting in the back. It had mosquitoes. I mean, it was disgusting. So this guy comes in and now he wants to turn it into a different look. He wants to invest in it. It's his land. And with Cobb County approving this, he will actually turn a vacant land into two beautiful homes. They're going to be very nicely built. They're going to be 4 sides brick with stone. I mean, elegant enough for that whole, for something to fit the area. And what I actually mentioned to the lady who called me on Sunday is, told her, you know as much as I do, all these old homes on this road are destined to be torn down, and rebuilt again. And that's what's actually happening starting with East Cobb and going along that street. So that was actually the reason we want to build over there too. It's a great area. It's very highly demanded. People want it. The variance we're requesting is to split the property in two, but also the access to each property, because it's zoned R20. We had to have 75 feet, but instead of frontage, but instead we wanted to use that frontage that we have already as a common street and then take them inside the property all the way to each driveway. So coming on Allgood Road, you're not going to see actually basically the homes.
Right.
They're going to be hidden in the property in the back, and the only thing you're going to see is the entrance. And the mailboxes will be placed actually for those two homes, for those two lots on Allgood Road all the way on the front.
Anything else you want to tell us? You still have a little time. You've been very honest so far. Anything else you'd like to?
No, sir. It's pretty much, a straight shot on it. We would like to. She asked me why am I building two homes? I told her it's almost 3 acres we have here. I don't want to, we can split it if we get approval for it.
Get him to point out the gravel.
Do you have a site? We have a site plan up here. Do you have one there? Can you put that up on that board and kind of walk us through how you're getting in and out of that property?
Yes, sir.
Cornelius will put it up for you, and then we'll give you a pointer and a microphone, and you can kind of walk us through what you're doing with that. Now, why don't you start off by identifying where the roads are, then go from there.
How do you? Okay, I want to show Allgood Road, which is right here. You want me to point on the site plan here, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, so basically, sir, you'll be coming down Allgood Road.
Right.
This here is the existing house, and this is the driveway for it. This part here is gonna remain the property of this owner, which is, he's the owner of this whole property here.
Okay.
We're requesting that this entrance here will be the common entrance, okay? So you'll come in, you'll come in from here all the way. This will be actually the driveway. Actually, the dotted area here is the driveway. You'll come in from Allgood Road, drive all the way around, coming in. Here's the driveway for the first house. This here is gonna be the backyard of this house, facing the natural area. We will not disturb anything over here. We're not gonna touch it. We're just gonna come in all the way to this line over here. We're gonna be clearing this area. So this is gonna be remaining the gravel and the access to the front of the house. These are gonna be basement lots. So you come in facing the house, we're gonna have a front entry or a side entry. So we can do a front entry here. This is the stoop, that's the front of the house. Again, this is the back. We're gonna keep on driving and then come in to the front over here, turn around with a side entry or with a front entry. I mean, we can do either one. And again, these are the two homes. This is the front of these two homes. These are the rears with the decks showing. This is the gravel that is gonna show the area that to access these two homes, facing the back of this community actually. And the gravel road here is gonna be the entrance with the common area.
All right, approximately how big are the houses gonna be?
They're gonna be about between 3,000 to about 3,500, 3,000 to 3,500 square feet.
Okay.
You know, and both have to be a basement lots. We cannot do a slab on that property. It slopes.
Okay, you've explained everything and your time is up.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm going to ask you to have a seat, and at this time, we will hear from the opposition.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? All right, folks, we got 10 minutes, and we're going to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. If you would, give us your name, please, first, sir.
Okay, my name is Todd Carson. I live in the neighborhood adjacent to this property. I am on the homeowners association for the Summit at Piedmont. We are the neighborhood just to the south side of the property. And also I would like to say thank you to the board for hearing our concerns today. There's a proposed reduction in the setback dividing our neighborhood, and these homes are reducing our setback from 40 feet to only 12 feet. So this is on the southern property line, and we can show you on the map here. But our request is that you do not allow this variance. There's also another construction of an access road within the impervious buffer, and we'll show you in a second. There's a stream that runs through the west side of the property, and the road is all in that impervious buffer.
If you want to use that survey, we can give you a pointer and a microphone. You can point that out to us.
So, let's see if I can. I want to show this area right here. All right. So, if you can see these arrows right,
Yes.
These arrows right here, that represents the stream bed that flows through the property, and it flows pretty much all the way to the road. And then you'll see these concentric rings here. This is an impervious buffer, and I'm no lawyer or land surveyor, but basically the way I read it is you're not supposed to build any pavers, driveways, sidewalks, paved or gravel within an impervious buffer. So that is a big concern to the waterway and really to the access to the property. Did you have something you want to say?
Hi, board. Thanks for giving us the opportunity.
Your name?
My name is Kareem Washington, and I'm also on the board with Mr. Carson as part of the Summit at Piedmont subdivision. I'm actually the house that's probably most directly impacted by this new build, directly behind. So the applicant mentioned he had reached out to other community owners in the community. We did not get that. He talked about the folks on Allgood. We are all homeowners in the some of that Piedmont subdivision. He never did contact us, and as you can see, he's basically trying to squeeze 2 new lots in between, you know, a subdivision and Allgood. So it's just a very, aside from the personally, there's a privacy issue as well as aesthetics, but just, you know, in terms of design, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of logical sense for the whole community. And that's really all I had to say.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Next speaker.
Okay. So if you sum up all the variances that are being requested here, you can see that the lot just does not support 2 homes with the buffer zone, but then also trying to change basically every setback on the property to allow for the homes to avoid that setback area, and as well as the road, you know, impeding that the impervious buffer zone for the stream. You can see that the lot just does not support 2 homes and access to those 2 homes. That's the biggest concern here from our side.
All right. Anybody else wish to speak?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jill Flem, and I'm representing East Cobb Civic Association on petition V127. Trish Steiner is our case manager. This lot was sold with exactly enough frontage for 1 home. It was never intended to be developed for 2. The applicant has not presented a hardship for these 5 variances, except that he is not able to do what he proposes with the land. In addition, there are no instances in this area where 2 homes will share a long, unpaved, narrow driveway going between another house in order to get to a public street. If approved, this could set a precedent for future development in this area. Most important, though, there still is no explanation of the hardship due to the shape or topography of the land, or if by complying by the code, the neighbors would be harmed. And once again, he is requiring multiple variances in order to do what he is proposing. ECCA recommends denial of this petition. This development is not keeping with the character of the area, and by the sheer number of variances shows that this plan does not fit on this lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Patricia Cook. My husband and I have property and live on the property adjoining this assemblage to the west. I'd like to point out before I begin, though, that there is a residence on the lot, looking at the map, to the right of where the driveway will be. We've only talked about the residence at 2130, which is shown on the map.
Let's
That
ma'am,
right there,
Ms. Cook,
2106.
Ms. Cook, let's go to that map over there and point
Okay.
out where that house is. I think I know where it is, but there's hundreds of thousands of people watching us on TV. I want to make sure they know where we
Oh,
are.
all right. There's a house here. Where am I?
Down here at the bottom. There you go.
Yeah.
Come on, you're getting close.
Right there. Close. On that lot, anyway. You see where the boundaries of the lot are, and I'm right here. There's a house.
And there's
here. I
somebody
don't know
living
if-
in there, ma'am?
Yes, the
Okay.
occupant of that house is present.
Okay, well, go ahead and tell us.
Yes.
Okay.
We feel very blessed to live in a community, a county that provides for orderly growth in the community. Your regulations are clear and concise, they're reasonable, not arbitrary, there's purpose. So when we're asked to make exceptions, I think we need to ask ourselves, why was the regulation put and kept in place? And are the desires or needs of the applicant greater than the reasons for establishing the requirement in the first place? In most cases, I think it'll be wise to say what you mean what you say, do what you said you would. But because granting variances often invites and encourages the submission of further variances. Of particular concern to us is the protection of the undisturbed and impervious buffer lines, which have already been referred to. The restrictions are in place, they're good, but they're very difficult, if not impossible, to enforce. They're easy to see on the topographical map, but standing on the property and trying to decide where the line is very difficult. So I would beg and plead that if this property is developed, somebody come up with a can of fluorescent paint and spray paint exactly where those lines are. Because once the buffer is disturbed, it's done. The damage is done. I don't care if you find somebody $1 billion for disturbing it, that doesn't help. If the trees are gone and the grading is accomplished and the vegetation is gone. So please, 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 I think it would be easy to unknowingly disturb it because it's not evident when you're standing on the property. Is it safe to have so many curb cuts so close together, coming out of a curve with limited sight distance when headed east on Allgood Road? We witnessed a stopped school bus almost rear-ended right there one day last week because people just can't see around that curve that something stopped there. Of course, the owners of adjoining properties have concerns about the decrease in setbacks. That's already been mentioned. And we'd like clarification of the request to allow parking and or access to parking areas in a residential district on a non-hardened surface. If this parking and access to it is on the owner's property, what is the regulation that would require a variance? And if it is not on his property,
You need to sum up now. Time's almost up. 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
All right, I'm through. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
ma'am.
attention to this matter and for your continued dedication to the citizens of the county.
Thank you very much. Okay, I declare the public session complete. And again, Ms. Trombetti represents the district. So Christy, if you would lead us in the discussion, please.
Okay, thank you. I think when you consider a piece of property that's 2.6 acres, I can understand why somebody might feel that surely that could accommodate 2 homes. You know, it's an acre on one lot and 1.6 acres on another. But the more we look into this application and really consider the variances that are requested, I think it's clear that 2 homes on 2.6 acres in this case would be burdensome. The road frontage request is something that we see fairly frequently here, the reduction of road frontage. The lot width request is related to the road frontage request, I think. But then we get into these setback variances, and when you're talking about acre lots, there really shouldn't be a need for a 12-foot building line. And I think the reason that they need that in this case is because of all the other buffers that exist and the topography. It's a really difficult, challenging piece of property. So that sort of necessitates the request for the reduced setbacks. But 12 feet is just too small, I think. And similarly with the non-hardened surface, I think I understand now that the gravel driveway is proposed to be the entrance to the new driveways for these houses. And that's existing, and probably the reason that it needs to be gravel is because it is within the impervious buffer. So I understand that. But what concerns me is that the fire department is going to have issue, I'm certain, with all the gravel. So that could be a safety issue. DOT comments recommend a concrete or asphalt, a hardened surface driveway. And then we have sewer comments that concern me a little bit about this proposal. I think we as a group and in the county always try to help people and be reasonable and make good recommendations, but I think this request is, with the number of variances needed on a challenging property like this, it just points to problems in the future. I think if 1 home could be built according to all the current development standards, that would be a reasonable use of the acreage, but I don't support any variances because of the challenging nature of the of the property and the sensitive nature of the stream buffers. And I can make a motion unless there's some other.
All right, any
comments.
other comments from board members? Christie, we're ready for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny V 127.
All right, I have a motion. You'll have a second. Second, Mr. Skip Gunther. No other comments? Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, we're going to deny case V127 with a 5-0 vote. Okay, John, 133.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Variance case of V133, Ronald W. King. Request a variance to allow an accessory structure, a proposed approximately 768 square foot building to be to the side of the primary structure. We have the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed approximately 768 square foot building, required 100 feet to 6.3 feet adjacent to the eastern property line, and to allow parking and/or access to the parking area in a residential district to be on a non-hardened surface. In land lot 269 of the 20th District, the property is located at the northeast intersection of Hadaway Road and Mars Hill Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V133? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
All right, sir, if you would, give us your name, please.
Ron King,
Say that again.
Ronald W. King,
Okay, Mr. King, tell us what you want.
put up a garage.
You got to tell us a little more than that. How big is it going to be? Is it going to be cardboard box, or is it going to be brick, mortar? What's it going to be?
Some stacked stone, board and batten.
How
One
big?
garage door, I think it's 36, or 38 by 26. It's on the site plan there.
All right. You want to tell us? Want to tell us anything else about it?
Just a workshop. It's got a little bit of office in there. I don't know, it's board and batten, made of cedar and stacked stone in the front, about 3 feet high. One entrance door and then a single car garage door, all glass going into it.
You don't have a picture of what you're proposing to put up there, do you?
No, sir.
Okay. Going to put heat and air conditioning? Going to put plumbing in there?
No plumbing.
I don't
No,
want to ask
heat and air.
questions. The-
Heat and air,
The purpose,
electric.
excuse me.
Yes, sir.
The purpose of you being here is
Yes,
to
sir.
tell us what you want. So I'm trying to give you time. You've got a 10-minute period.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you didn't hear my comments at the beginning, but you have a 10-minute period to tell us what you want. So try to fill us in with as much as you can at this time.
It's a property that's 50 years old. It's got a 1,200 square foot house on it. There's no garage. Off to the side of the property, I want to put a garage with a workshop, a little office in it, so I can park my Viper in there and be left alone. It's got stacked stone in the front and then board and batten on there. It's going to have heat and air conditioning, no plumbing. Basically for storing in an office building. It sits to the back side of my property, away from the main house, which we are going to add on to make that a fourth garage when it adds onto the thing. So we're just basically for more storage, and it's 3.6 acres of land that I'm trying to put about 1,200 square foot on for more storage in the building. And it sits on the backside away from the road, so it's not real close to the front road on Mars Hill Road. And it sits back away from Hadaway.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to case V133? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Mr. Gunther represents that district, so I'm going to ask Mr. Gunther if he'd lead us in that discussion.
I'd be happy to. Thank you. Okay, there are a couple things going on here. I went out to visit Ron King, and what I understand you're doing is you've bought this house, the property. You want to add an addition to the side of the house, which is to basically the southeast side of the house.
Yes, sir.
which is a garage and a work area. I assume to support your business, you do.
No. Has nothing to do with my business. It has to
Okay.
do with myself. I have cars in storage now. I want to get out of storage and
Okay,
put
good.
in. One of them be put in there, and the other two. But it has nothing to do with my business.
Okay, good. So that's one part of the application. The other part is apparently while you were out of town, I think even out of the country, your wife built that shed
Right.
back along the near the back fence.
That's the variance
and it
part.
was, and you're asking for variance from 100 feet to 6.3 feet so that you can keep it there. Right? That's
10
what the
feet.
application. Well, the application says 6.3 feet. And my understanding, Mr. Peterson, is that we have sign off on all the adjacent immediate neighbors to that shed. Is that right?
Commissioner Guthrie, I'm not sure about that. I did not check the file on this one.
Okay. Well, in any event, the shed is built. I don't know if you had a permit or not. Was there a permit involved in building that shed? Must not have been if it's
No.
not.
Yeah.
There was
There
no
was
permit.
not. And it's,
Okay.
yes, it's not complete. Yes, I know what you're saying.
Right. The third part of your, and so that's the second part, is to have to waive the side setback for that accessory structure from 100 feet down to, our piece of paper says 6.3 feet, you say 10. The third part is to allow parking or access to parking in a residential district on a non-hardened surface. You've told me that you really don't want that.
No,
You're
I
not
don't.
sure where that
I don't
came
even know where
from.
that came from. All I
Well,
want is a driveway from.
it came through the process as the application was brought into
Yeah.
the Cobb County government. It became part of the application,
Yes,
part
sir.
of the process. So that part, I think when I make a motion, I'm gonna recommend we delete that part. So I think it's, I'm not sure you need to stand there anymore. I don't have any questions. Maybe the board does, but I'm ready to make a motion.
All right, any other questions, board members? Hearing, okay, let's go to the motion, Mr.
Okay, I'm ready to make a motion that we approve the application variance parts 1 and 2, but we remove part 3 from the application with 2 stipulations. The first stipulation is that there's no commercial use of the house or the addition to the house on this property. And the second stipulation is there's no residential or commercial use of the accessory structure that's been partially built on the back side of the property. That's my motion.
And if that ever gets building
And that you apply for, and the third stipulation be you apply for and receive a building permit and then build according to code.
And inspect it.
You probably just need to say, and development and inspections comments, because it's in there.
Absolutely. And I would like to add in all of the staff comments from traffic, development inspections, site plan review, historic preservation, and fire department.
Just all comments.
All the comments.
All right, I've got a motion. I've got a second by Ms. Williams. John, you okay with that already? All right. All right, got a motion to approve, second by Ms. Williams. I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries for approval 5-0. That was a strange case, John. Strange case, John. Let's go to our next one.
Variance case V137, Shafali Patel requests a variance to increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 46% in land lot 958 of the 16th district. The property is located on the south side of Valla Park Court, west of Sumo Road, and on the north side of Brownsville Road. Is the applicant present? The director of the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V137? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
All right, ma'am, if you would, give us your name, please, first.
My name is Faye Colbert. I'm a representative for Aqua Design Pools and Spas and an agent for Shafali Patel.
Okay. Tell us what you want.
Well, in the beginning, Dr. Patel, Mr. and Mrs., they're both doctors, gave us a call and let us know that they're interested in a swimming pool. They told us that in the beginning of buying their house, they picked out one of the biggest lots and with the intentions of building a pool. They started building their house and infiltrators were installed and the pavers were installed to offset the impervious, which the impervious limitations are at 35%, to allow for the approval later on in the pool when the economy built back up. After we came in and we applied for a variance to, because we know they're at the limit for the impervious. And so we came in and applied for a variance to increase the impervious to 46% to allow pavers around their swimming pool. We then met with our project manager, Jeff Umberger. He met with David Braden out on site and showed him the impervious, or the pavers in the driveway, also the infiltrator system. At the time, with David's recommendations and such for the downspouts in the rear side of the property on the south side, we have now planned to tie all the downspouts in to direct the water in the proper locations and help with any kind of runoff that anything may happen, you know, rain and such. The homeowners have also installed a rain-away system up underneath their back deck to help with the runoff as well. I believe that there is no opposition with the adjoining properties. We have, the homeowners have spoken with the adjoining neighbors and they have absolutely no opposition to them building a pool with decking or increasing the impervious. Other than that, they were not aware of any limitations at the beginning with their impervious, but that's perfectly fine. They did at the beginning purchase their lot and discussed with their builder their intentions of building a pool for their family to have enjoyment in their backyard. So I believe that is it. I would like to answer any questions if possible. Thank you.
Good. Anybody else wish to speak either for or against case V137? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. Ms. Trombetti represents the district. Christy, I'll turn it over to you, please.
Okay, thank you. I think as with all requests for increased impervious surface, we rely heavily on stormwater management and engineering, basically. This house, as you can see, is already built over the allowable impervious. Most of the homes in the neighborhood are probably close to the same percentage. They're very large homes on R15 lots. So it's not out of keeping with the character of this particular subdivision. And I think the reason for the impervious coverage rule, as far as I know, is to help manage stormwater and help us deal with the impacts of over paving. So if any negative impacts related to going over percentage can be mitigated, I think it's worth considering. Correct. Especially if the neighbors are not concerned. And with this house backing up to Braswell Road, there is no one directly behind them. So I believe this is something I could support with some stipulations, but I'd like for Mr. Braden to come up, if you don't mind, Dave, and tell us about your meeting on site and what you thought of their proposal.
Yes, Dave Braden with the Stormwater Management Division. This lot is similar to the one on the corner that they've heard previously that put in a lap pool in their backyard. With that one, we had some documentation of the infiltration system that went in. This one, I was hoping that we could get that. I did verify that that system went in because we were able to locate both ends of it where the pop-ups were. It runs across the whole front of the yard. It's just I can't verify exactly how big that system is, what size of infiltrator was used and how much stone. But the And I believe the overage that it sits at right now is because of the circular driveway. The original plan, the house and the porch is the same as what was approved. It's just there's only a single drive showing up to the house on the original building plan, and the circular drive and that fountain is what added over and above what the original approval was. But again, it is a pervious driveway and installed per our specifications. In speaking with the pool contractor, the project manager, I was satisfied that there probably is enough evidence to show that the system that it went in handles what's going to it now. My question is that the porch in the back or the pool in the back and everything that's in the back of the yard doesn't go to the street, it goes another direction and it crosses the neighbor's property. There are, I guess it would be considered the left-hand side of the house, that roof area from the hip over all drains to that corner. There's like 3 or 4 downspouts that come down. They mentioned the fact that porch, half of that porch is not covered. It has just an arbor over it, but it does have that deck system that catches the water so you can walk underneath that deck that doesn't have a roof, but the water doesn't leak down on your head, which is pretty nice. Those have a scupper that drains to the drain, and they have agreed to put in a separate system along this side that would accommodate all of the runoff that comes into the house. Well, if you back that out of their proposed amount, effectively it would get it down to 35% runoff-wise from our perspective without even considering what's already been done in the front yard, because I can't document it. So the fact that they're willing to do that, and it would pick up all the runoff that runs off the back corner where the pool drains anyway, we're satisfied with that. So.
Okay.
Is that good?
Thank you. Yeah. It helps to have the additional explanation because, like I said, these requests, I think, are all about engineering, and none of us are engineers that I know of. So what I'd like to do, unless there are some other questions or concerns, is make a motion to approve V-137.
Let's do that. I think we're ready for you right now.
Okay, so I'll make that motion, and it shall be subject to all staff comments and recommendations. And also with the pool company working in conjunction, and the property owner working in conjunction with stormwater management to ensure that the proper safeguards are put into place to achieve the plan that they set forth today.
Good. I have a motion. I have a second. Second, Ms. Williams.
Sure.
All right. Going to
So
verbally
we'll
say
make a
that.
motion to say not to exceed
46%.
46%.
Okay, the second.
Or what is shown on the site plan.
Okay, got a motion, got a second. No other comments, call for the vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Carries for approval. Madam Secretary, 5-0. Case V-137. Board members, we okay to keep going? We got about 3 more to go, time-wise, okay? John, jump right into the next one. 143.
Variance case V-143, J. Gapazan, excuse me, request a variance to waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 26 feet in land lot 661 of the 16th District. The property is located on the southeast side of Lessie Ma Drive and Lessie Court. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V-143? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward and be sworn in? And I apologize for butchering your name.
Better. All right, sir, again, the record name, please.
My name is Andy Ledbetter. I represent Mr. Kapuzin. We are proposing to build a 480 square foot addition to Mr. Kapuzin's house on the right side of his home. He's kind of landlocked in his because he's on a corner lot. He really can't go either direction without getting into some kind of variance. And he thought he had gotten a variance at one time before when he built the storage building. He got the variance decreased on that side to 10 feet. But when we came in to get the permit for the addition, they said the variance was only for the storage building. So in our current plan, we've maintained the front variance. We are encroaching on the 35-foot side variance by 9 feet. Mr. Kapuzin likes the area, likes the schools. His children are in school. His wife teaches. He wants to remain in that location, but he wants to add on to his home, make it a little bigger.
What's the addition going to be used for? What is it?
It's a media room. It's adding a bedroom and another bathroom in the basement area.
Anything else you want to tell us?
No, sir. We'd just like to get it approved and.
Pretty simple.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Straightforward.
Anybody here in opposition to case V143? Not seeing anybody. It's back to this board. Again, Christie, if you would, lead us in the discussion.
Okay, thank you. I do think that's a straightforward request, and it's a 4-foot variance from 30 to 26
30.
feet.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's less. Do you have a picture or any kind of elevation of what he's planning to do?
You need an elevation of the property?
Yes.
Or the structure?
Of the proposed addition.
You want it from the front, the side, a 3D?
Just show us everything you have. They can put it on the screen.
That young man right there can put it up for you.
I remember the shed variance. I don't know how long ago that was, but I do remember doing that.
All right, let's go to the next picture. They're pretty. They are really pretty.
That's the main level. This is the main level of the structure. There's no real changes on that level. This area right in here is the addition to the home. Let's see. I think this is the whole area of the basement. Right now, the basement, I believe. Find out where I'm at here. Okay, the basement originally, the exterior wall right now is right here along this line here. We're going to be adding this room here and this bedroom, bathroom, relocating the bedroom and relocating the bathroom over here, putting a new laundry room in this area, and making a closet for this bedroom here. So there'll be 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a media room in addition. And this is going to be a little playroom for his kids.
Okay.
Okay, and it's all downstairs?
There is a master closet I left off. It's in the gable framing of the structure on the main level.
Okay.
Just an additional. It'll just go up in the master closet. Let's see if I can figure out where that's at here. I believe it's this area right here.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Not having any opposition and having a chance to see what they're planning to do, I think it's a reasonable request. And the hardship is with the fact that it's a corner lot and there's a cul-de-sac encroaching too, so it does limit what they can do. So I'll make a motion that we approve V143 for the proposed addition.
Staff recommendations.
And all staff recommendations and comments.
Okay,
included.
got a second by Ms. Swanson. No other discussion. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries for approval 5-0 for case 143. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, John, our next one, 145. I'm sorry, 48. Yes, 48.
Yes, sir. Variance case V148, Elizabeth and Christopher Wyatt. Request a variance for an authorization upon appeal related to the minimum lot size of 2 acres related to maintain poultry as a pet or a food source. Waive the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for the existing 192 square foot shed from required 35 feet to 13 feet. Waive the rear setback for an accessory structure under 144 square feet for an approximately 51 square foot deck from required 5 feet to 1 foot. And waive the side setback from required 10 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the north property line in land lot 456 of the 16th District. The property is located on the east side of Plains Way, north of Plains Court. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V148? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
May I show a presentation? Is that all right for those thumb drives? Okay.
All right, give us your name, please, first.
I'm Elizabeth Wyatt. I'm the homeowner.
Okay, tell us what you want, Elizabeth.
Okay, while he gets the presentation about the chickens up, I'll address items 2, 3, and 4, which came up after I had made the application. We purchased the house last February. It was built in 1972, and I believe that most of those additions were made at least 10 years back. Some of them were built before the neighborhood next to us didn't exist, which was built in 1998, so that was a really long zoning waiver request, but most of those, I believe, are, yes, sir. Okay? Yeah. Oh, sure, thank you. Okay. So that addresses items 2 through 4. The main thing I'm here for is to apply for keeping chickens in my backyard. I've thought very thoroughly through this problem, and as it pertains to my neighbors especially. So on the first slide is a site plan showing the proposed coop location with the green arrow indicating it. It's towards the rear of the property. The property is a ½ acre, and we already have a shed there. Zooming in a little bit closer, we would space it off from the shed. This is meant to shelter it from basically every single one of our neighbors. In the neighborhood to the north, on the top of the picture, we have lots of mature trees. We have a privacy fence. To our rear, that is currently undeveloped property. It's actually been purchased to develop Mountain View Elementary, but we're in the very rear corner of the large property for Mountain View Elementary there. And right now there are mature trees and 8 acres of undeveloped land. To the south, we have my neighbor Joan, who is not enthusiastic about the idea. She actually didn't, she objected, and so I have my certified mail. I notified her via mail, certified mail, that we were doing this. I've been in open communication with her since the very beginning of the process, since we bought the house, and have tried to mitigate any of her concerns for sightlines. So we'll go through that next. This slide just shows a Google Maps view that there are lots of mature trees in the area. I've kind of color-coded them. Green is mature trees. We have privacy fences surrounding the house. We have privacy plantings of evergreen hedges. So I hope that it will minimally impact my neighbors. The proposed coop location is to the left of our existing shed. It's in a wooded area. It's as out of sight from our neighbors as we can make it. So looking north, the neighbor's house is just barely visible. Even in winter, there are a lot of pine trees. I don't think it'll be a concern to them, and when I introduced myself to all those neighbors in the neighborhood to the north of me, they were enthusiastic, and they said, oh yeah, you know, we'd love to bring our kids over. We would, you know, that's a really cool idea. We don't have any problems. The back of the property, solid woods. I don't ever go back there because, you know, look over the fence and it's just a jungle. To the, I guess, the other side of the shed, to our south, this is looking at our neighbor's yard. Her house is just barely visible behind the privacy hedges. She has an evergreen magnolia tree there, which the arrow kind of goes along the side of, and she's not out in her yard very much, so she's mostly an inside person, I guess. The view from our driveway looking back, you can see where the yellow box next to the shed is pretty far set back. In all respects, I've tried to maintain the privacy of my neighbors, their concerns with noise and everything. So I have a proposed coop design. This is an online plan that's available. I think by using an online plan, I'll be able to ensure that the coop's attractive. Lots of other people have done this. There are good ideas for making it, you know, attractive. It'll be solid. It'll be secure. The coop's about 10 feet wide, 6 foot deep, and 8 feet high. It'll provide protection from predators because there are hawks in the area. And it's also a biosecurity measure because avian flu is spread through wild birds. So by protecting them from wild birds, that should be acceptable. It's not going to require any permanent foundation. We have a rain barrel that will run the gutter into the rain barrel to provide water for the hens as well. Because avian flu is big in the news right now, I just wanted to let you know that I have considered biosecurity measures. I understand that that's a risk to flocks, mostly commercial flocks, but UGA actually has really good resources about backyard chicken owners and how to keep your flocks free of disease. And by flock here, I mean 3 or 4 birds. We're not talking a huge operation either, in keeping with the code variants. I also, when we posted the variant sign on the front of our fence, a lot of people walk down the street and they turn around. We're kind of on a little dead end. So we put up the variance box, and I put up an info box with this letter to our neighbors just saying, hey, what's this pink sign all about? We're applying for chickens. Here's our contact information. If you have any questions, please talk to us. We'd really, appreciate hearing feedback. I haven't heard anything, so I hope that's a good sign that that nobody has any concerns. So I've really tried to, minimally impact my neighbors while also trying to pursue this hobby that I'm interested in. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Is there anybody else wishing to speak either in favor of or against case V-148? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board again for discussion. Christy, again, this is your district, so if you would please lead us.
Okay. Well, I can tell that you've put a lot of thought and planning into this, and that was a very nice presentation. So thank you for all of the details and the thoughtfulness as far as the placement of the coop and the drawings and everything. That's really important, I think, when we're considering variances in general, but especially the poultry and the acreage requirement variances that have been kind of difficult for us, frankly. Because each case is different, and I think you've done a lot of homework, and having the signatures of your neighbors is important. But I do want to ask, as far as Ms. Comer is concerned, do you know what her specific concerns were? Did it have to do with being able to see or hear?
Her primary concern, as stated to me, was property values. She's worried that chickens are dirty and they're noisy and they're going to make the neighborhood terrible.
Okay.
I respectfully disagree with her statement. Since purchasing the property last year, we've basically done nothing but improve it. We're maintaining the very extensive landscaping that previous owners put a lot of work into, as well as taking out dead trees that were hazards, and we've tried, it's been more than a year since we've been there, to demonstrate to her that we're responsible property owners. I know how to maintain clean, sanitary habitation for my animals. So we have a dog, she has a dog. She lets her dog out, in and out at will. She barks a lot. She doesn't have any landscaping, so I think we have fundamental disagreements on what impacts property value, and so it's her concern. I've offered her eggs, I've offered her, veggies from our garden. Here's some jalapeno jelly. I mean, I've really tried to make an effort. So,
well, and the reason I ask is because I didn't hear specifically from anyone. Sometimes we get emails or phone calls about cases, and especially when there's an objection, and I had not heard from her. So I wanted to be sure. But, these, I think items 2, 3, and 4, as you kind of went over quickly in the beginning, are okay. Those are existing conditions and have probably been in the situation for a long time. The poultry or the acreage requirement variance is difficult, as I said, because it's kind of new. It's a new trend. And it's hard for us to figure out what a hardship would be, and then how to adequately, make sure it doesn't have a negative impact on the neighborhood. And I think the location of your proposed coop, the size of it, and the proposed number of hens, along with the agreement to comply with the stipulations that would be part of the approval. You're familiar with the code. It was part of the application. There's items A through I that have to be complied with. I think I'm comfortable with the application. I don't know if there are other comments or questions, but I think the location of the coop in this case, sometimes we like to see them closer to your own house rather than backed up against the property, but in this case, it's going to be next to the back end of a school. It's more buffered from Ms. Comer in this location than it would be if it were pulled up into the middle of the yard somewhere. So I think because these all variances stand on their own and aren't really precedent setting for another, I'm comfortable with the location of this one. So unless there's some other discussion, I can make a motion.
All right, board discussions. The CDC came out with a report about a month ago about backyard chickens and the flu and the bacteria and all the things. It was an eye-opening report. I just want you to be aware of that. So you do have young children. Young children, the tendency is to play with the chickens. It is not just the manure that comes off the chickens, but it's the touching of the chickens, touching of the, as I read the report, and the touching of the cage and everything, that they could come down with serious problems. So unlike Ms. Trombetti, I do have a problem with it. My problem is that you're putting this at the back part of your property. In the past, we've always put it behind your house. If we're going to inconvenience any property owner, it should be you, the applicant, and not your neighbors. But as Christie has pointed out, there is a school behind you, is that correct?
Not yet. It's
It will be, is it proposed to go in
eventually.
there? And a school, I guess, we don't know where it's going to be built, but it's going to be far enough away from the property, John. I imagine there's some setbacks involved with that.
It'd be built towards the center of the property.
Center of the property.
And she has a fence.
So with that hardship and with that said, if this was any other case, I would not vote for it. I'm going to be very plain. I'm making a public statement right now. I would not vote for it. I feel that any applicant that wants to come in with a less than a half acre, you only have, 4/10 of an acre. I sincerely believe it needs to be behind the house and not near anybody else's property. But with this hardship pointed out that the school is going in there, I'll support it this time. But as a public statement, I want to make a public statement that I wouldn't support it in the future. Anybody else want to make comment? All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a motion?
I don't know if I made a motion.
Let's do a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve V148.
All right, got a motion. Do I have a second for that?
And subject to staff comments and recommendations, including the section 134-94, paragraph 4 stipulations that are in the county code, of course, and then also subject to Ms. Wyatt's package submitted on August 25th, which is, I think, the same thing that she presented today.
All right.
Okay.
All right, now I've got a motion. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Kim will second it. All right, I've got a motion, got a second. Also, John, what is the scheduled date that she has to come back before the Board of Commissioners? Final
It'd be
approval.
November 17th.
November 17th, and you'll be back here at 9 o'clock in the morning for final approval. All right, got a motion,
Mr.
got a
Chairman?
second?
Do y'all want to approve the chickens for 24 months?
Christie, do you want to go 12 or 24 months?
Could I say something really quick?
Sure, yes,
I
ma'am.
like the time frame because we do have one neighbor that's not approving it.
Yes.
And that would give us time to see if she's going to come forth with any problems or opposition. That would be my only reason for wanting a time frame.
So you would go for 12 months, is that what you're saying, Jeff?
If it's 12 or 24, I really don't. But I would go for a time only because of that.
The only thing about a time frame, I like the idea because this is something more popular now and it's new and we're seeing more and more of these. It's nice to be able to have a way to monitor and keep a handle on things. But the investment of a coop and everything that she's, once she builds this, it's kind of hard to take I'm torn between the hardship it would place on the applicant if she has to remove the coop in 12 months or 24 months based on a neighbor's issues. And not that a neighbor wouldn't have valid issues, and that's what we don't want, is for any impact or any negative impact to be put on a neighbor. But at the same time, as we know, one person's perception of a negative impact may be different from another person's. So I'm just kind of thinking out loud now. But I would, we could approve it for 12 months, and maybe have some more discussion before the Board of Commissioners meeting, if that's something that everybody can support.
12 months? 12 months? I'd support 12 months.
I'd support 12 months only because this is all a novelty. It's a novelty for us as a board to go through and approve these variances, but there's a lot of, and I think it's a novelty for the applicants too, coming and asking for these chickens to be placed on these small pieces of property. And I'm concerned that once the novelty wears off and that they require a lot of maintenance. And so I think it would be really beneficial to have 12 months. And then at that point, she can come back and do a presentation to our board for an extension. And we can see what type of upkeep is being maintained, that it isn't impacting the community. So I agree with the 12 months as being the second.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Maybe this is for Mr. Peterson. Have we put time frames on these before? I should know the answer, but I just
Yes,
don't remember.
in the code, it allows up to 24 months.
Okay.
So we need a time frame.
Okay, just want to be sure. And I'm sorry, I just don't have it all in my head all the time. Okay, so 12 months is fine to add to the motion.
Okay, and the second is okay with that. Just by way of a comment, Ms. Wyatt, you did a wonderful job, very, very sincere, and I think you went into a lot of great detail and took it. But you got to understand, when we're doing these cases, it's not just for you. We do this countywide. So these are considerations and these are thoughts that have been rattled around up here for a long time. You just happen to be sitting at the wrong place at the wrong time today. But let me, again, comment, I think you did a wonderful job. I've got a motion. I've got a second. Have we all spoken enough on it? God bless these chickens. All right, I got a motion. Second. Here we go. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries for approval, Madam Secretary. 5-0 for case V-148. Thank you. All right, we are near the end of the day, and I believe our next case is 122.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case V-122, Manzoor Hawk requests a variance to waive the major side setback from required 25 feet to 0 feet adjacent to Beach Haven Trail for the proposed dumpster enclosure. Waive the maximum allowable impervious surface from 70% to 76%. Waive the front setback from required 40 feet to 10 feet adjacent to Brownwood Lane. Waive the major side setback from required 25 feet to 5 feet adjacent to Atlanta Road for the Car Care Center. Waive the landscape enhancement strip along the areas adjacent to the right-of-way and parking areas from required 8 feet to 3 inches. Allow an accessory structure, the dumpster enclosure, to be to the front of the primary structure. Increase the maximum size of a convenience store or fuel sales from 3,000 square feet to 3,600 square feet in land lots 763, 864, and 821 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north side of Brownwood Lane between Beach Haven Trail and Atlanta Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V-122? Please raise your hands.
Those of you that are here in opposition, keep your hands up and let's get a head count. Put your hands up.
Let the record show there are 5 people here in opposition. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Let me make myself clear on this. Anybody that wants to speak one way or the other, please come forward now or forever hold your peace. Amen. Okay, that's fine.
Shows one in support.
Anybody wants to vote in favor or opposed? All right, sir, for the purpose of the record, if you would, please give us your name.
Certainly. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Garvis Sams of the law firm of Sams, Larkin, Huff, and Bally, and I represent the applicant and property owner concerning this variance application. If you put Mr. Shelton along with me and my client and our two consultants, then we have 5 in support of it as well. So, just
okay.
I have with me today Mr. Jeff Brewer and Ms. Salma Shelton, who are our engineers. So they'll be available to respond to any technical questions you have at the appropriate time. My client, Mr. Mansour Haq, is here as well, and similarly, he'll be positioned to do so as well. This is an application that was heard and considered and held by you 3 weeks ago on September 11th, and since that time, we've revised the site plan / landscape plan that's being shown on your monitors. We've also submitted a comprehensive letter of stipulations and conditions dated September the 22nd, which hopefully you've had a chance to review. We have the support of Old Ivy Master Association, and the other person who identified himself in support of this is Mr. Martin Shelton, who's the attorney representing that Master Association. The property at issue you can see here is a 1.22 acre tract of land, which is located, of course, on Atlanta Road. It has unusual configuration. It also has triple road frontage, as you can see, and it's across from the pilot truck terminal, which was recently closed because of the operational improvements and the widening of Atlanta Road. Under the future land use map, it's shown as a community activity center. As far as your zoning map, it is zone GC. And when I say GC, it's an unrestricted GC. It's not a grandfathered GC that you see in so many instances. So there are 89 permitted uses under the GC classification, which is the third least restrictive classification of the Cobb County zoning ordinance, which includes automotive body shops, building supply stores, wholesale trade and distribution centers, homeless shelters. I mean, you get the idea. I'm not going to go through all 89 of them because I don't have that kind of time, and I wouldn't burden you with it, this being the last application anyway. But my client's fortunate to have this property zone as it is, so he has ample opportunity to be able to make decisions that are not constrained by the zoning classification. But what he views this as an opportunity that he's able to seize under, unfortunately, pretty onerous circumstances for him in terms of the taking by GDOT and the reconfiguration of his property. But it gives him an opportunity to bring it into a situation so it's more complementary with the neighborhood. And our discussions with the Old Ivy Master Association and its attorney, Mr. Shelton, have we think, led to that position. On this property right now, there's a Shell convenience store and a hand car wash. This property has had numerous businesses in it and has been used either as a gas station or a convenience store gas sales for 51 years. Pretty long time. My client's operated it for 11 years. He's owned it since 2012. No, excuse me, yeah, 2012. A year after he purchased it, that's when GDOT decided to condemn the Atlanta Road right-of-way for operational improvements and for widening. That case, of course, is still pending in the Superior Court of Cobb County. As you know, the crux of any application for zoning, or for variance rather, is to show there's a hardship owing to the topography, the configuration, or some developmental constraints that are not self-imposed. In this particular case, this, at least in my estimation, and I don't think I've been able to ever say this before, but this is a poster child for approval of variances, and I'll tell you why. First of all, on the property, there's a Cobb County Marietta Water Authority easement that traverses the property that consists of a 16-inch water main, which requires, of course, we have to be set back 10 feet from that no matter what, at least 10 feet. We've had GDOT's relocation of our point of ingress and egress on Atlanta Road. We've had Cobb County's elimination of one of our points of access, ingress and egress on Beach Haven Trail. We've had GDOT's taking along the frontage of the property, which reduced our usable property and put us in a situation from an impervious perspective at 73%, with the limit being 70 within a GC, within a CAC. You've got, as a hardship, the triangular configuration, the shape of the property. You've got triple road frontage, which you've got to have setbacks from each road, of course. And there's an underground gas easement that traverses the property as well. So that's 7 different developmental constraints that exist, none of which are self-imposed and some of which are recently imposed by GDOT's take. Of course, I think both you and your staff recognize that because in your initial work session, you reached a conclusion that this was consent agenda material because we meet the guidelines for having variances granted, and you actually placed it, I assume you and staff in consultation with each other, placed it on the consent agenda. So when I was before you 3 weeks ago, it was on the consent agenda. This is a cool location for Mr. Hawk because this is the only convenience store with gas sales from 285 going north back towards the city of Marietta on Atlanta Road until Atlanta Road's intersection with Austell Road. I don't know how many miles that is, 7, 8 miles, but it's a long way. So he's positioned to be able to serve his community. Also, he's fortunate to be positioned on an interstate that has in excess of, it's interesting, it's I-285, it has in excess of 285,000 cars a day, which is incredible. We have submitted a comprehensive STIP letter. I'm going to go through some of those. First of all, what you're seeing here is a revised site plan. It reflects a total screening of the dumpster. It reflects, because of the elimination of the access point on Beach Haven, an additional, an inordinate amount of landscaping, as you can see, along Beach Haven Trail. We've also got the planting of trees, and they're identified on there. If you look at it, you can see the various species, all of which are indigenous, of course, to this part of the world. It also allowed us to have better interior circulation when that point of ingress and egress was removed on Beach Haven, and I think lessens any impact on Beach Haven at all now that the double points of ingress and egress are gone. Consistent with the conversations we've had with the Old Ivy Master Association, we're going to have a brick component added to this. That'll be consistent with the architectural style and composition, and it will be aesthetically and compositionally comparable to Old Ivy. Also, even before we reached that agreement with Old Ivy, we had agreed as a part of our original presentation to comply with the Atlanta Road design guidelines as well. And many of you may not even know those are in place, but they are, and they're very specific. One of the interesting things about this has been working with Cobb DOT, because GDOT and Cobb DOT, they don't always think on the same page or in concert with each other. But what we've agreed to do is, with respect to DOT, Cobb, no parking of any type on any of the adjacent right-of-ways. All landscaping that's installed will not impede any lines of sight. Elimination, as I mentioned, of the southernmost point of ingress and egress on Beach Haven. No additional points of ingress and egress will be punched out on any of the 3 road frontages, except for the delivery of petroleum products to the site. There'll be no 18-wheelers or any trucks or vehicles that are similar to that in any kind. Plus, there'll be directional prohibitive signage, which will be erected that will make sure that or ensure that doesn't happen. Stormwater management recommendations and comments. There's no stormwater management, not a whit of it on this site. Never has been. We're going to be putting in a massive underground system with water quality components, and I would think that would make Mr. Braden and Stormwater Management pleased with this. Dumpster service, we've limited so there's no dumpster.
2 minutes.
No dumpster emptying between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Lighting on the sites, low intensity environmental is in a STIP letter. Any signage we put on Beach Haven will be ground-based monument style signage. The site development, there's limitations on site development in the STIP letter. I won't go over those. We're compliant with all the Cobb County water system recommendations. We are agreeing to eliminate every single, not every single, 85 uses under the GC zoning classification and allow only 4: a convenience store with gas sales, a drive-through component, a car care center, which includes a car inspection and a car wash, hand car wash, and then the second floor of this will have professional office utilization. The it's always been my approach to show that not only is there a variance, but that the granting of these variances won't impair the purpose, spirit, and intent of the ordinance, and we think not set an adverse precedent. We think it does quite the opposite. We think it sets the tone for what needs to be done in redevelopment situations, particularly when an applicant or property owner is giving an opportunity to do just what Mr. Hawk is able to do here. Interestingly, and I know I've got 33 seconds, Mr. Chairman, I'm watching it very closely, but they've gone through the plan review process parallel to this variance process, which has been extremely instructive in terms of knowing what staff has wanted and being able to a T, do everything we can within the ordinance guidelines, and that which we couldn't, we've asked for a variance. So for all these reasons, and because the hardship most clearly and definitely exists, we do ask that this variance application be approved as presented to you today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other person that'd like to speak in support, please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Martin Shelton with the law firm of Wiseman, Nowak, Curry, and Welco, and I represent the Old Ivy at Vinings Resident Association, which is the master association for the Old Ivy neighborhood. There are several sub-associations within that property, including specifically the condo association. I represent the master association, which includes those associations, but I don't specifically represent the sub-associations. And I do want to clarify that only because there was some confusion in my office originally. And so the letter that you sent has listed the condo association. I'm not actually representing them, but they haven't taken a vote.
So our understanding, just for clarification, because this has been a little bit of a problem, there's 4 or 5 different organizations within the Old Ivy compound. Is that correct?
I understand there's 3. But,
3, okay.
But that can be clarified by somebody from the association.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Master Association has reviewed the plans, and we've had conversations with Mr. Sams, and they've asked me to express that they are in support of the variance subject to the conditions in this September 22nd letter of conditions. Many of these conditions are ones which they'd worked out with them. Also, the revised site plan, which I think is in the file also, they support it in condition with that revised site plan, specifically with the structures that are set forth on that plan and this most recent landscaping plan. With those conditions, they're in support of it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Okay, at this time, we will hear from the opposition.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Walt Underwood. I am a resident at Old Ivy. And I just want to speak to a couple of things, maybe get some clarification or offer a suggestion. First, I'm all in favor of people expanding their business. I think that's very good. And obviously, as a previous speaker indicated, when it's done within the setbacks and zoning requirements that are established, that's fine. I do agree there are problems with this property. However, and that he has had property taken for which he has either received compensation or will receive compensation. As I looked at the plans, it looks like maybe about 4,000 square feet were taken from the property. However, in the variances that he's requesting, it appears to be about 6,000 or more square feet that he's asking for. Usable square feet, an expansion of that. And again, I would have no problem with that, except if in granting a variance to overcome a hardship, which has been somewhat self-imposed because he wants this variance to expand the usable space, if that imposes hardship on someone else, I know that's not something that you as a board would want to do. So what would be the hardship imposed on neighbors? Well, essentially it's a traffic problem which occurs because this expansion he is doing to generate more business. Obviously, you wouldn't make the investment without that goal in mind. Generating more business means generating more traffic. Most of that traffic will occur on Brownwood Lane and on Log Cabin Trail or Beach Haven, whichever you want to call that there. The problem you have is because of a median strip going down Atlanta Road, you cannot make a left turn coming out on Atlanta Road. You cannot make a right turn coming in. That means all that traffic is going to come up Brownwood Lane and on Beach Haven. In addition, he's asking for 2 more businesses there. One is the drive-through business. The other is the emission testing business, which I don't believe was mentioned in the presentation. The drive-through business will probably generate most of its business in the morning, where you're going to have the rush hour traffic taking place at the same time. And that's a concern with a number of our residents and other communities along that route. So the concern is the hardship imposed justify a hardship which he is somewhat creating by asking for the additional square footage of space. Now, that being said, I suspect you will probably approve this anyway, and so I have two questions or perhaps a stipulation that could be added. These variations or variances that are requested on Atlanta Road and on Beach Haven Trail are said specifically for the purpose of the dumpster on one and the car care center on the other. One is we would like to be assured that by getting these variances, it doesn't open the door for the applicant to add additional structures now that he has the variance on those two roads, or add additional dumpsters. I heard a stipulation added earlier, and maybe we can have a stipulation that they apply specifically to these two items, and that he would have to come back if they wanted to add additional buildings or dumpsters. Now, that being said, I think our board has done very well with the applicant to negotiate for improvements within what he's asking, other than what I've just mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Anything else? You have plenty of time left
No,
if you want to
that's
tell
fine.
us anything else.
That's fine.
Okay. I declare the public session over with because that's the only gentleman that came and got sworn in. So again, it's back to this board for discussion, and I'm not going to pick on Christie this time. I'm going to go to Miss Kim Swanson because she represents this district. And Kim, if you would please lead us in the discussion.
I've gotten over the past 2 months many emails and phone calls regarding this this application and the variances that the applicant is requesting. I tried very hard in working with the applicant's attorney to make sure that some of the, if not all, we can't, it's been difficult to come up with a perfect scenario for this variance. I do want to again address that Mr. Sams addressed is that this applicant has a hardship. It is the current shape of the property, and it's the easements that run through the property. There's currently there's an a gas easement and a water easement, and so the applicant is restricted where he can place the new store, where he can place his pumps, where he can place his car care center. He's restricted in the placement of that. And then on top of that, a lot of people have issues and don't recognize that a hardship is also the taking of the property. But that, again, that's an additional thing that occurred on this piece of property. But even if the property wasn't taken, again, we have to look at the hardship under our code, and that would be the current shape of the property, which is this triangle, and it does have these two easements. The BZA, we don't have any control over what we can tell the applicant what he can and cannot have. That's something that is done in zoning, and he's not coming in for a zoning request, and he is allowed all these uses under the current zoning of this property. So we can't sit here and say, well, you can't have this, you can't have that. We can only look at what he is asking as far as variances, and that's the setbacks. So those were a lot of the comments that were coming through from the community. I know that the community felt that they didn't have the opportunity to meet with the applicant. I think that, again, I think that would have been something that would have been beneficial to the community, because I think then they would, because I've had the opportunity to meet with the applicant and talk to the applicant, and I think that then they could have expressed their concerns to see how much the applicant wants to fit into this community, and he wants to improve his store. I know everyone is talking about so that he can make more money, but he also really wants to improve this location so that it fits into the community. And I think you can see that in the list of stipulations that his attorney has placed forward, and that is taking the store, it'll be with the bricks, he's done a massive amount of landscaping. The dumpster, which seems to be a sore point for, I would say, a good 98% of my letters coming in opposition. He's buffering it. I think it'll be one of the nicest dumpster locations as far as it being buffered with trees and shrubbery, as well as building an enclosure around the dumpster. So I think that had the community had the opportunity to meet with him, I think that they would then get a better feel for this gentleman really wants to be a part of the community and do right by the community and put in a nicer product than what is currently was like a 50-year-old gas station. And basically, if he didn't ask for this variance and he tried to clean it up, it would be like the famous quote from our old Commissioner Joe Lee Thompson, was like putting lipstick on a pig. So he's doing something different and presenting a good plan. One of the things that Mr. Sams discussed is on his September 22nd, 2015 letter with his stipulations. There are a few things with that. So, Mr. Sams, can you come up to just address these few things?
Yes, ma'am.
One of the gentlemen that I met with our chairman was talking about the trees that are existing along, is it Beach Haven? Brownwood Lane. The trees are actually not dogwoods, but they are Bradford pears. And he was kind enough to take a picture of the Bradford pears, which seem to be slowly falling apart. So one of the things that I discussed with you, and I discussed with the person that had an issue with that, is that if we could remove those dogwood trees to be replaced with, so to remove the Bradford pear trees and replace them with evergreens like cryptomeria or Leland cypresses, is that something that we can add with the stipulation, and therefore that would remove number 2 in your stip letter, and also it would, so to revise number 2, and then 5G in your stip letter, you also are talking about existing specimen dogwood trees. So would we remove those, and you would remove those, they're not dogwood, they're Bradford pear trees, to replace them with cryptomeria, or what I would really like to do is have you meet with the county arborist and come up with what would be a suitable replacement of these trees that would fit along this Brownwood Lane and that wouldn't impede traffic or site visibility. So I really would feel comfortable having the Cobb County arborist assist you with that determination.
Yes, ma'am. The trees you're referring to are here, and they are marked as for existing dogwood trees. They are, in fact, Bradford pear trees, which have a propensity to split over time after 10 or 12 years. They simply do that. Either cryptomeria or Leyland cypress, something like that, an evergreen would be fine for us, and we would agree to that. I think the Leyland cypress are not exactly embraced or endorsed by the county's arborist anymore, so probably it would be a cryptomeria, but this whole plan has to be vetted by the county's arborist, Mr. Brewer, who is our engineer that's with us today. I know they've already been speaking about that, so, but they will certainly be replaced. It's an integral part of the screening of the station.
Right. So we will, so we'll revise number 2 and then the 5G comment when we were talking about a different type of tree. So I have a couple other stipulations that I would like to add, or does the board want to ask any additional questions?
I think we're ready for a motion, so let's get the motion on the floor.
Okay. I do want to address the gentleman that came up who was in opposition to the variance, Mr. Underwood, and I hope that I'll be able to address some of your concerns in my stipulations. So I make a motion that we approve V122, and I would like to submit in Mr. Sam's letter dated September 22nd, 2015, with those revisions that I previously talked about, as well as the new site plan review that was also submitted on September 22nd, 2015. I would also like to add, addressing some other people's opposition, is that all landscape will be maintained. The applicant will trim, mow, and replace dead or diseased vegetation. In addressing the concerns about the car care center for the hand car wash, that the employees of the car care center must have control of the vehicles coming into the car care center. And then, again, replace the Bradford pear trees with evergreens that meet with the county arborist for approval. And that this is for this site plan only, so that means that there will be no additional dumpsters. The car care center will not be expanded. It's for this site plan only. And I'm really sorry. I do have one question. Mr. Sams, you said that you're coming in at 73% because you've put in those impervious pavers along the car care center area. Is that correct? Or are you at 76?
No, ma'am, I'm sorry, I misquoted that. We were at 73%,
Okay.
but just simply by virtue of GDOT's take of the frontage on Atlanta Road, we are at 76%.
So
At
you're-
one point during the plan review process, we got up to 82%. By virtue of the pervious pavers that circle and go back into the car care center, we are at 76%.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought you had gone down, and I was going to note that. So that is my motion with the stipulations, and then all staff comments to be added as well that are not in conflict.
All right, I've got a motion, I've got a second. Now we've got discussion. Kim, let me just, you mentioned that the employees would have control of the cars going into the car center. We also want a word out, coming out of the car center.
Right, my motion, or in discussion with the DOT, is that the employees will have control of the cars that come into the car center. That means, and I guess I should clarify it, that means from the time that the car comes in and the employee then takes the car to drive it in to be washed and then to drive it out to be dried.
Right.
So the whole time that the car is involved in that car center, it will be under the employee's control until such time the owner of the car takes possession and then drives it out onto the road. And that was a recommendation by DOT.
Just want to clarify that, so that's in and out. The other clarification I'd like to make mention of is that I have found in the past that if we don't put minimum sizes on trees, I'd like to recommend that if and when the Bradford pears die or they're be replaced with a minimum of 10-gallon sizes.
Well, we're not going to wait for them to die, we're taking them out.
Okay, so you will agree to a minimum of 10-gallon size?
Yes, sir.
And the only other thing that was heavily discussed in a number of meetings I was involved with, Ms. Swanson, is that the employees will have a break area within the car care center. Mr. Sams, has that been discussed with you?
Yes, sir, that's fine.
Okay.
you want me to make that as a
I think if he's
stipulation, or
agreed to
that is
that,
just already noted and stated?
It's noted and stated. All right, any other questions? We have a motion, we have a second, now's the time to get into it. I do think Mr. Underwood did a terrific presentation. I think Ms. Swanson has addressed your issue by specifically saying it's for this use only or for these uses only. No other additions can, or no other uses can be brought in without coming back in for zoning or reapplication. So I think we've protected the citizenry there. And no other structures, yes. Any other comments? We are putting lipstick on a pig, we know that. And Ms. Swanson is absolutely right. We as a board, all we're faced with is this variance. There is a legitimate hardship, we have to deal with the hardship, and that's why we're here. We have taken great pains and great care to try to concern ourselves with everybody's problem and consideration. So there's a lot of thought that went into this. Anything else from board members? Then I'll call for a vote. I've got a motion, I've got a second. I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries for approval 5-0.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chairman.
Mr. Underwood. My best of luck to all the folks at Old Ivy. And you're in a lot better shape now with the pilot gone, and but unfortunately, it's like everything else in this world. Traffic tends to come that way, and people want to be in that area. So, but I do think it's a beautiful area down there. John, does that complete our business as far as the?
There is one other item on your other business, and that's to approve your dates and times for your hearings for calendar year 2016.
For the calendar year 2016. I'll make that motion that we approve that. I think Ms. Williams is okay with that. Her second. We spent a lot of time on that, so I'll call for the vote on that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries for approval 5-0. Now, Ms. Laurie, we need to approve the September the 28th work session meetings. So I'll entertain a motion on that. I'll entertain a motion. Somebody, thank you. Save me.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries for approval 5-0. Ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, before you disband, can I ask a question?
You have to come up here, ma'am, and you're not sworn in, so I don't know what I can do about this.
Well, maybe we can swear me in if need be. We were on the consent agenda, V-132, and in our application and what was advertised were two variances.
All right, wait a minute. All right, let me just stop you right there. Okay, if that's the case, that you've already been approved, I have already accepted that we are adjourned for the day. Don't you leave, but I need to get this part out of the way to do my adjournment right. So with that said, we'll see you next month. Take me off of TV, Cornelius. I hope that, it's like Buffalo Bob with Howdy Doody. Takes care of all the kids for next month.